Hello everyone, this is Kessel Raptorial, and it's time to get back to Legend of the Five Rings. Now, I have not yet kept up with the events and story changes that took place at this Gen Con 2018. I have been quite busy for the past couple months, and the game store that I would go to buy game supplies, cards, booster packs, sleeves, dice, books, everything was closed down for a couple of months because a couple of the owners were going to Gen Con, and I was planning to go this year. I was ultimately unable to make the arrangements and save up enough money. Plus, there were a lot of family issues to try and resolve. Got a little bit of the way, but who knows what the next months are going to bring. Anyway, the game store did recently reopen. I went and bought a copy of one of the new fiction books, The Sword and the Spirits, which I will be talking about as soon as I get around to reading it. The character on the front cover, Shiba Tsukune, is actually the main protagonist of the story we're going to talk about tonight. That is the fifth story in the core fiction, which is titled Risen from the Flames, and focuses on the Phoenix Clan. The Phoenix Clan of Rokugan play the role of the Shugenja as the elemental spellcasters of the Emerald Empire. While each clan has its own Shugenjas and at least one Shugenja school, elemental spellcasting is the specialty of the Phoenix, just as the Lion is the clan that specializes in being Rokugan's army. The Crane specializes in the courtly arts and art as a way of life, and the Dragons specialize in being the monks and two-weapon fighters. So, as I mentioned, the protagonist of this story is a young woman named Shiba Tsukune. This is artwork from the original version of Legend of the Five Rings of Tsukune, or a very similar character. She is said to have Yojimbo duties. Yojimbo means bodyguard at a Phoenix shrine, and preparations are being made for the performance of a new martial arts kata, known as the Heaven's Wing Kata. If you're not familiar with martial arts, a kata is a choreographed series of moves put together for a performance, whether they be body martial arts, spins, punches, kicks, unarmed martial arts, or they can be with weapons. But these are almost always practical and applicable moves for training and actual combat, not merely show moves. A young man named Tetsu arrives to perform Master Rujo's new additions to the Heaven's Wing Kata. Okay, so we're talking about additions to a kata, not an entirely new kata. There's a little bit of Tsukune admiring an old piece of artwork in the first couple pages, and Tsukune's mentor, Isawa Takada, praising her hard work and diligence to his friends as everyone begins to gather. Tsukune prays before the ashes of the former Phoenix Clan champion, Shiba Uchimitsu, who had, as the story reads, sat at the head of the banquet hall at the Genpuku ceremony where Tsukune had come of age. So Genpuku is a ceremony that takes place at the end of a coming-of-age trial. It is not the trial itself. All young people of the samurai caste, samurai, Shugenja, undergo this at some point in their teenage years. The ceremony marks the completion of the trial and is held upon success. As far as I know, there is not yet a lot of detail as to what the Genpuku ceremony trial actually consists of. But I will be very interested when that comes out. I do have a burned copy of the original Oriental Adventures Dungeons & Dragons book from long ago. That was one of the introductions to The Legend of the Five Rings. I don't know what this relaunched new version will change yet. I'll be very interested to see. Tetsu performs his kata as the paragraph describes. In the moonlit courtyard before the shrine, Tetsu's slender naginata traced the stars with its blade. It spun in silver arcs around him, not pausing between his steps. Tsukune saw not two entities, man and blade, but one body in a dance of light and steel and emptiness. Encoded into each graceful gesture was the death of an invisible opponent, each silk-rustling swing a final breath. Tetsu froze, one foot tucked behind the other knee, balanced on a single leg, spear outthrust. In that moment, he became a bamboo rod floating on a stream that reflected the sky. Tetsu placed his weapon on its stand and pressed his forehead to the ground. As he rose, the courtyard brightened with the afterglow of his performance. The fiery braziers licked moths from the night air in their jealousy. He returned to his seat, a lone sakura among the gathered maples. So sakura is cherry blossom. It's a cherry blossom tree among a grove of maples. Or they're describing the wood that the seeds are carved from. There was none other who could have performed the Heaven's Wing kata so flawlessly, not even if Ujimitsu were alive. If the late champion still dwelled in this world, surely it was in the skill of his highest pupil. The ancestral sword of the Phoenix clan, Ofushikai, is then brought by a procession, and once again, reading straight from the story, even from where she sat, Tsukune could see each pearl set into its manta skin handle, the untouched ribbons of silk woven flawlessly around its pommel, and the curved bronze wings that were in its tsuba, which is the word for handguard. The elemental masters of each of the magical elements, air, earth, fire, water, and void, each take their seat beside their apprentices. Then comes the temporary lord of the castle that hosts the ceremony, Shiba Suzaku, and his brother alongside him. Suzaku is the name given to the vermilion bird of the south, one of the four gods of East Asian astrology, the spirit guardian of the south. The guardian gods of the other four directions are Genbu, the black tortoise of the north, Byakko, the white tiger of the west, and Seiryu, the azure dragon of the east. So Suzaku is a very fitting name for a Phoenix Clan lord. The apprentices of each element then perform their elemental casting displays, which, to be accepted by the gods, maybe even the god Suzaku itself, though Legend of the Five Rings has not, to my knowledge, been set up to make clear whether it actually incorporates these four beast gods as deities in its universe. Each display must be executed perfectly. Unfortunately, the Apprentice of Fire slips up only slightly, and suddenly the castle catches fire. Shiba Suzaku acts quickly, giving efficient and decisive orders, but the flames spread fast. The samurai burst into action at his command, some evacuating the castle's courtyard, fetching water. Others, including Tsukune and Takada, run towards the shrine instead, dead. While he rushes to save the library's precious star charts, genealogies, and other treasures, Tsukune rushes to rescue those trapped by the blaze and fallen structures. When all still alive have escaped, the elemental master of fire absorbs and extinguishes the flames, the last of the prayer beads and ashes offered to the gods. Most everyone bears their shares of burns and charred hair, Tsukune to no exception. Dark smudges marked her cheeks and forehead, and her dark brown hair was now black and stiff. Her good kimono was flame-licked, stained, and sooted. Even though, in the end, the damage to the shrine was not as disastrous as it might have been, as the Apprentice of Fire and everyone else acted quickly, the master decides that he must dismiss his student. Now, remember that Rokugan is a culture that puts a giant importance on honor, appearances, and traditions? This is a case where even a simple misstep has dire consequences, even when one does all they can to take action and responsibility. Also, as they say, the destruction of a shrine is a bad omen. Still, the ceremony and the choosing of a new Phoenix Clan champion must proceed. Shiba Suzaku takes the ancestral Phoenix sword, Ofushikai, and passes it between those still worthy to witness its succession. Tsukune glances at Tetsu, noticing his concern. He smiles back at her reassuringly. Although she imagines the greatest honor being the passing of the sword onto her mentor, Ofushikai, for reasons uncertain, settles upon its choice in Tsukune herself. To everyone's surprise, this castle and its ancestral blade are now hers. And although hyperventilating and overwhelmed by the new role and responsibility, Tsukune vows to prove worthy of the mantle. And that is Legend of the Five Rings Core Fiction Story number 5. And that is Legend of the Five Rings Core Fiction Story number 5, Risen from the Flames. I will be most intrigued to follow the story of the Phoenix Clan. The next story of theirs that I discuss will be the book, The Sword and the Spirits. Although hyperventilating and overwhelmed by the new role and responsibility, Tsukune vows to prove worthy of the mantle. And that is Legend of the Five Rings Core Fiction Story number 5, Risen from the Flames. I will be most intrigued to follow the story of the Phoenix Clan. The next story of theirs that I discuss will be the book, The Sword and the Spirits.